Hi friends, welcome back. Today we have to talk about formulas. Formulas, concentrations, and conversions. We are going to review 3 formulas. One from Instagram, one from a patent, and then one from Labtorium. I get so many questions on formulas, conversions, how do you make it 20%, how many grams is it, so on and so forth. I could spend easily an hour a day just answering those questions. Instead, why not make a video? I'll show you how I input formulas into my formula system, and then how I convert those formulas into my desired batch size and concentration. Now, I use a formula called Formulaire. Formulaire was designed and created by a perfumer in the UK called Sam Macer. I guess he learned a little bit of coding just so he could create this, and I live and die by this thing. And I'll show you how I use this. This is only available right now on Apple products, Mac, my iPhone, iPad. But when we're done, I will do something in Google Sheets. I will create a simple formula in Google Sheets. I'm going to create this from scratch. We're going to wing it. We're going to see how it goes. So hang with me. Before we get started, formulas are in parts by weight or parts per weight. They're not in volume. We don't speak in terms of milliliters or cups or gallons. It's in weight, first of all. That means grams, kilograms, micrograms, pounds, tons. Not tons, that would be really expensive. But we are talking in terms of weight. We cannot use volume because this filled to the brim with ethanol would weigh different than this filled to the brim with ISOE Super versus this filled to the brim with Clary Sage Absolute. The same amount of volume gives us a different weight. So we want to deal in weights. We always deal in weights. What is parts by weight? If you've never learned what parts by weight is, or just parts in general, I quickly think to a cake formula. How do you make a cake if you don't have any measuring spoons? Maybe you only have a bowl and you have 2 bowls and a scale. How can you make a cake? You can use parts by weight as a formula. I asked ChatGPT to give me a simple vanilla cake in parts by weight. Instead of saying 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 2/3 cup of butter, 4 eggs, half a cup of milk, instead of all that mix and match of sizes, we have 30 parts flour, 30 parts sugar, 20 parts butter, 12 parts egg, 6 parts milk, 1 part baking powder, half part each of vanilla extract and salt. Logistically speaking, what the heck is 12 parts eggs? Well, it doesn't mean a whole lot. This is just a ratio. This just shows us the ratio of weight between the various ingredients. Now, using this formula, I can make a cake that weighs 1,000 grams. I don't know how big it is. I don't know how wide it is or whatever, but I know I can put it together such that I can create a 1,000 gram cake. If I'm cooking for a party of 1,000 people, I can make 10 of these. I can have 10 kilograms of cake batter ready to go. I can piece it out into the various trays. Here I have the formula for my cake. This is the same in fragrance. And we're going to start today with a formula I have not whipped up. I have not created this, but this comes from a well-respected perfumer, Michael Nordstrand. Mr. Michael, please tell me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Such a nice guy. He reached out to me once when I was trying to process some Ponderosa pine resin, and unfortunately it exploded in my kitchen. And I documented a little on Instagram, calling for help on how do I clean this up. And he very kindly said, isopropyl alcohol, Goo Gone, and then another round of isopropyl alcohol. So I did give that a little try, and it worked. So thanks, kudos, thank you for the help on that. In any case, he contributed this Tonkin musk accord to Fragrance Drama. If you're unfamiliar with Fragrance Drama on Instagram, I would suggest you get familiar with it. It's a great resource. There's a bunch of different accords. There's a bunch of formulas. Sometimes Labtorium or Wisemore teams up with the person who created this. I don't know his name, but I did hear him do an interview on the Perfume Room. But occasionally they'll team up, they'll put up some GCMS analysis, or they'll just create a formula. So it's well worth your time to review this. If nothing else, this provides yet one more resource of formulas that you can review, put together, experiment with, study, whatever you want to call it. You can give it a try and continue your own personal education. What we're going to do, I'm going to open up Formulaire. We are going to create a new formula. I'm going to title this. We're going to title this Accord Tonkin Musk. And in my title, I always like to create an attribution of who created it, where did I get it from. This is from Nordstrand. Wonderful. I'm also going to write some quick notes. There's a section in Formulaire that I get to write some formula notes. First, what category is this? Well, I think this is an accord, a musk, right? I have a category of musk accords. Wonderful. Today's date is going to be when we created this. And then what I'll put in my notes is this was posted on Fragrance Drama Instagram. Created by Michael Nordstrand. And then I'm trying to be better at this, but I'll put a link to where I found this so I can go right back to it. Occasionally, these get pulled down, so these links are no longer good. But, you know, I like to have it there just so I have a quick reference. Now, what are we looking at here? Material on the left, the weight on the right. Okay, so he's calling out, we're doing this in terms of weight. We could easily still translate this into parts by weight because this is going to probably equal 1,000 if my quick eyes are telling me true. But let's start entering this. Okay, we're going to add a new entry. I'm going to write vanillin. I have a vanillin that I'm going to add. Wonderful. And over on the right side, I'm going to put how many grams or how many grams. There is 1 gram here. Next up, Muscone. Ooh, but this is Muscone Levo. Muscone, I happen to have Muscone Levo built into my my raw materials library, and there's 9. By the way, Fraterworks or Fraterworks, how do you say that? Fraterworks sells a Muscone Levo, a Levo Muscone. If you know another supplier, please put it in the comments. There might be other suppliers, so share with the class. So far, check this out. So far, we have a 10 gram formula, 1 gram vanillin, 9 grams Muscone Levo. This total formula of 10 grams, 10% is vanillin, 90% is Muscone Levo. And you're going to see these numbers change as we add ingredients. Forgive me if that seems extremely elementary. I'm going to assume you know nothing about anything, including math, okay? At least for now. Now, next up, we have Angelica root. All right, I have Angelica root, 10 parts or 10 grams. Wonderful. Musk ketone is next. Now, keep in mind, everything that I'm entering here, another 10, I have added each one of these manually in my raw materials library. There are many, and maybe one day I'll talk about how I organize this. Actually, I will do that, and I will do that soon because I think that would be helpful. But if I didn't have, say next up is helvetalide. Let's misspell it because I know I have it. What if I didn't have helvetalide? As I'm going through my system, I would go in and I would actually create a brand new material called helvetalide. I would put in the CAS, I would give it its category. I would keep pushing through this so that even though I don't have it, I don't have it in my library, I can still have it represented here. All right, Helvetalide. When I was first starting off putting formulas into this system, whether I was using Formulaire or whether I was using some kind of homemade system, the error would have been the same. I was using substitutions. For example, if it called for Rose Absolute, but I only had Rose Auto, in the first iterations of the formula I was creating, I would put Rose Auto because for me, it was a functional formula. I wanted to be able to use it. I wanted to have record. I don't do that anymore. I will create a brand new item. I'll put an asterisk at the beginning if I do not have it in the organ. But that way I can have the actual material represented in the formula. And then when it comes time to blend the formula, I will create a copy. And it is in that copy I will make substitutions with the materials I actually have. Next up, paracresyl phenylacetate. Ooh, that's an interesting material. Next, ethylene brassylate or musk tea. Wonderful. 38. Next up, exaltalide. Okay. 100. Muscarone or muscarone delta is next. We have another 100. Triethyl citrate, or he says other solvent QSP. Not sure what QSP is. I'm not in the know on that, but that's okay because I have triethyl citrate in my system. 300. Finally, romandolide. This is the big one, 400. Now take a look at this formula. 1,000 grams. This totals to 100%. Each of these lines gives us the relative weight inside of the formula. Romandolide is 40% of the formula, 40% of the concentrate. Triethyl citrate, 30% of the concentrate. Muscarone delta, 10%, so on and so forth. All the way down to vanillin, which is 0.1%. Let's stop here. This is pretty straightforward. Easy grams. We won't get to conversions yet. Let's go to the patent formula. Okay, this patent, this is an application filed by Givaudan in 2010. It was awarded in 2011. The title is Carbanols Having Olfactory Properties Reminiscent of Patchouli Oil. Now, what this is telling me just in the heading, just in the title, we have a molecule here that is reminiscent of patchouli oil. What we're going to see is the molecule, or one of the molecules they're discussing in this patent, is going to be plugged in to one of the formulas that they have here. Now, if I don't have that molecule, because most of the patent molecules I don't have, occasionally you'll run into, say, the patent for isoe super or the patent for pear ester. And you're like, oh, sweet, I have that. I can use that. But I probably don't have the molecule that they're here. So when I'm looking through patents, I scroll at least halfway down. And I start to get from paragraphs of text into what looks like bullets or numbers. And I will see ingredients, aroma chemicals or oils that I recognize. And from there I stop, I scroll up to where that starts, and then I start reading. Usually we'll see examples. Example 1, example 2, example 5, 7, etc. Okay, so where does this start? Reading this first one, odor description, woody patchouli, order of green, order, yada, yada, yada. Okay, the following compounds may also be, nope, want to keep going. Example 4, green citrusy perfume oil for use in shower gel. Now, if I wanted to learn more about perfuming shower gel and cosmetics, I would review this, but I don't care. I want fine fragrance, an eau de toilette for men, an eau de parfum for women. I try to find that language because often, not always, but often, or often enough, if you see perfume oil, it's more of a functional fragrance, or it's for something like soap. I'm really trying to key in on fine fragrance, and look at this. Example 5, a fine fragrance cologne. Now I'm assuming this is for men if they're going to use the word cologne, but hey, fine fragrance. Now, right off the bat, I don't know if this is good. I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a derivative of some formula that we all know and love, but they got a couple things that are changed. I don't know if this is a shot in the dark. I have no idea, but that's okay. That's totally fine. That's what makes this fun. Giving this a try, seeing what you like about it, what you don't, and then even evaluating, like, is this possibly a cologne that I would have worn in 2008, 2009, whatever? Or is this just a shot in the dark? Because I've had a couple of those interesting formulas that I'm like, there's no way this is a fine fragrance. But let's do this. Now for example 5, we see ingredients, parts per weight, 1/1,000. So we know they are doing this in parts by weight. There are 1,000 parts in this formula. And for easy comprehension, we can just say, I'm doing this in grams. Easy enough. Technically, it's in parts by weight. I like to be technical, but still. Just treat it, just put a G at the end of it. Linalool acetate, 100 G, 100 grams. Basil oil extract, 2 G, 2 grams. So let's build this. Now, I already have this constructed, but I'm going to do it again. So this is a Givaudan patent. So what I do when I'm going through patents, the way I organize this is I put the year in, and then I put in what the example is. This is a fine fragrance cologne. And then I will put in the patent number. So it's this right here, WO 2011 033047A1. Because when I have this tracked also in an Excel file, if I'm ever going through patents and I wonder, have I put this in my system? Because I have hundreds of these in Formulaire, I will just copy this, go into my search bar, and I will search for it. And if I find it, I won't touch it. I'll say, I've already got it. So what I'll do here is I like to copy, again, always copy the hyperlink. I want to know where this exists because I found a formula, a mystery formula in a patent. I forgot to put the hyperlink, and I must have gotten one number or one letter wrong on the title because I cannot find it. And it is a very good formula. I want to know where the heck it's from, but I feel like I've lost it forever because it is a rabbit hole. It is a dark black hole, the world of patents and patent formulas. Okay, now I also have created a category called mystery formulas from Givaudan. All right, now notice I already have this, fine fragrance cologne, but we're gonna go through and we're going to do this together. Remember, we're at example 5, fine fragrance cologne. Okay, so first one, easy, linalool acetate. Great. Linalool acetate. How much? There's 100. Ooh. 1/10 of the concentrate is in linalool acetate. Next up, basil. Now this says something weird. This says basil oil clear extract. I have no idea what this is. Maybe there was an error when this was scanned and copied onto the internet. I have no idea. Maybe it was a typo. Who knows? But I do know basil oil. And I've run into enough patents to just, to just know. It's all right. We're just going to do basil. All right. Sweet basil. And here's a great example. The next one, bergamot oil. That's just a simple typo. What do you think this is? Do you think this is bergamot oil and I've got to Google this? Do I have to look on the Good Sense Company for what this is? No. This is just either a typo or some mistranslation or miscopying. when it was being imported into Google Patents. Next up, cedarwood, curveball. There are look at all my cedarwoods. I have Bois d'Encens, Olibanum and cedarwood, cedarwood atlas, a few of those, Port Orford cedarwood, cedarwood atlas, cedarwood from China, which is a different species, Himalayan cedarwood, Texas cedarwood, Virginia cedarwood, got a few of those. In this case, I'm just going to do Virginia cedarwood. Pretty common, pretty common. Next up, Cassis buds absolute. I have it in my system, but I do not have this. This is not in my organ, hence the asterisk, but I'm still going to have it represented here in my formula. There's not much. Next up, sepionate. Ooh, what is this? What is sepionate? Well, why don't we Google it? Sepionate. I always put TGSC at the end because I want to search the Good Sense company. It's just kind of home base for searching about what an aroma chemical is. First thing that pops up, methyl dihydrojasminate or hedione from Firmenich. Now I always take this with a grain of salt. Whatever the top hit is, that's usually what it is. Okay, that's usually, Google's pretty good. It's usually what it is. Occasionally it's not. So what I will do is I will come into the Good Sense company, Control F so I can find, and I will type in sepionate. And I am looking for sepionate in either the suppliers or the synonyms, because the synonyms come in handy, especially when you're talking about chemical names. Synonyms are very handy. So when we talk about sepionate, we see sepionate in here. Sepionate is essentially hedione. It's your choice if you want to write in your formula hedione or sepionate. Now this says Z enriched. Does this mean this is a high cis version? I think Z is is the cis version of the isomer. So let's, now we'll keep it. But if I was going to put hedione here, I would probably put hedione HC. That would be just me. Oh, another one, citrus peel oil. Okay. What citrus? What's your favorite citrus? Well, let's go with lemon. Whenever I see citrus peel oil, I just assume they want high limonene. They want that bright top note. We're talking about lemon. I could be wrong on this. Mandarin may be the standard. Sweet orange may be the standard. I could be completely wrong. But whenever I see citrus peel, I don't have a citrus peel in my formula, in my raw materials library. So I just assume it is lemon. You know what happens when you assume. C'est la vie. Next up, dihydromercenol. Okay, let's get this in. Dihydromercenol is 25. Ooh, heliotropin. Heliotropin. Wonderful. Piperonal. 4. Next up, we've got jasmine absolute. Okay. Oh, Egypt, India, I don't know. Let's do Egypt. Next up, lavender. Okay. Lavender, I default to Bulgaria. Bulgarian lavender. Oh, and here's a fun one. Cis-hex-3-anyl methyl carbonate. What do you think this is? Is this just cis-3-hexanyl? Is this cis-3-hexanyl methyl carbonate? Cis-3-hexanyl salicylate? What is this? I copy. I'm going to paste it in here. Hexanyl carbonate. And of course, we're going to add TGSC. See what pops up. Oh, interesting. Cis-3-hexanyl hexane 1-yl methyl carbonate is known as liferome. Liferome, IFF. Okay, lucky for me, I have liferome. Great. How much was in there? 9 grams or 9 parts per thousand. Next up, mandarin. Mandarin. Is it green? Is it red? Is it yellow? I never know, so I always do yellow. That's a tough one. Next up, peppermint. Okay, I've got a few different peppermints. Let's just do our double distilled peppermint. Nice and simple. Next, serenolide. Serenolide I have in the system, but it is a Givaudan captive. I believe this molecule, it's a musk, was actually created by Philip Kraft, one of the inventors on this patent. So interesting. Next, dipropylene glycol. And finally, we have the patent molecule. Now, there's a trick here. Number 17 is not right below all the others in the standard format. It is accidentally put next to the DPG, and occasionally that happens. Occasionally you see ingredients smushed next to each other rather than aligned. So it's good to just be on your toes. We can see that this molecule here is noted right here. The addition of 25 parts of 1,1,1-tricyclo propiamethyl propanol per 1,000 renders this cologne more sophisticated. Crazy. Okay, great. Of the linear musk and heliotrope and natural patchouli effect conveys top note of the composition. Okay. I like to copy this and put this in the notes of the formula that I am putting in here. And then I will do one more thing. For here, we have 25 parts of something. 25 grams per thousand, 25 parts per thousand of this 1,1-tricyclopropanil 2-methylpropan-2-all. I don't know what this is. I've got to put something in here. Now, if I had more time and I wasn't shooting a video, I would probably Google this. I would try to understand at least the structure of this thing and see if I could find some kind of patchouli-esque replacement. Because it says it's reminiscent of patchouli oil. So I have no idea what this is, but I want some kind of placeholder so that my formula gets to 1,000. What I will do in this case, if I have no replacement, I will put a solvent in here and put 25 just as a plug so I can get my number to 1,000. However, today we're just going to add clearwood. I'll put 25, and in this system, I will highlight it. Highlight formula entry. For me, I now know that in my formula, this is the patent molecule, or this is in place of the patent molecule. To be clear, because I think, clarity matters when you're coming back to this after a year, like, what did I do here? I put clearwood in place of the patent molecule. Great. And here, again, we are done. Finally, let's review. It's not too long. Let's go through this free Labtorium formula. This is titled Musk D. I believe this is denim musk. I believe. Could be wrong. It's denim musk type. So this is denim musk type. This is a free formula from Labtorium. I put this under full fragrances. Great. And what's nice when I organize this, I can see I already have a formula for denim musk. Interesting. Okay. Let's start entering this. We've got patchouli oil. Don't know if it's dark or light, so let's just put Indonesian. I don't know if it's dark or light, so it will be Indonesian. Next, diethyl phthalate. Oops. Any of you know how to pronounce that word? Please tell me. I say diethyl phthalate. Vertofix. Vertofix. Wonderful. 80. Galaxolide. Oops, not galaxolice. Galaxolide. Now, isn't it interesting? We are 4 ingredients in, and we are already up to 600 grams. If this is a 1,000 gram or 1,000 parts formula, we're already 62.3% of the way there. That's wild. Oh, look at this. Cyclodecyl formate. If I have that, I am unfamiliar with it. Let's see if I have that. Cyclodecyl. Nope. I may not have this. So let's do some searching. Cyclodecyl formate, TGSC. Oh, look at this. I have found another molecule I don't have. Trouble. The wall is about to get one more friend. Now, what I will do, oh, it's clean, huh? Fresh laundered cloth, sweet. This sounds familiar. This sounds really familiar. Let me search the CAS number. What I love about Formulaire is that when I search, I can set the parameters to basically only search the title and the information in the CAS here, because you can put other stuff here, like if it's a plant, you can put the species, or you can set it to search the description as well. So if a particular molecule, like hedione, has multiple names, you can put synonyms down in the description, and if you search for it, you'll be able to find it. Now, if I have this CAS here, should pop up. Oh, I do have it, or at least it's in the system. Cyclododecyl formate. Okay, I just spelled it wrong. Odor type clean. It lasts for 20 hours. Fresh, clean. Okay, wonderful. So this is in the system. Cyclo. Dough. There we go. We finally got it, friends. Okay. Now there is 50 grams. Next up, fixolide, also known as musk tetraline or tonalide. Okay. Next, an interesting one. Isobornyl cyclohexanol. Now, oops. Let's go back. I accidentally added alcohol. Delete. Okay. Isobornyl. Let's see what happens. Isobornyl acetate, propionate, isobornyl cyclohexanol, otherwise known as Sandif. Okay. It looks like I have that too, so wonderful. Next, lavandin from Grosso. I have Grosso from France, Oregon, or Spain. Let's do France because that's just my default, 30. Next up, dimercetol. I believe this is just another way of saying dihydromercenol. We could Google this, check out the synonyms, do a bunch of research, but I think I just did that last week because I'm like, what is dimercetol? And I believe it's just dihydromercenol. Next up, a bergamot substitute. Interesting spelling, but maybe English is not the first language here, and maybe I'm not even its target market. I don't know. So, but that's okay. You get wiggle room here. Of course, I misspell it. Bergamot substitute. So I'm going to put bergamot Givco. 20. Lemon. Lemon, the default is always Sicilian or Italian lemon. Next up, vetiver. Vetiver Haiti is always the default. And notice the way that this is organized. Labtorium sometimes will do the ingredients from the most concentrated to the least concentrated. At other times, it does it in alphabetical order in English, and sometimes it does it in alphabetical order in, I don't know if it's Spanish or Portuguese, but it's all the acetates are first. It's like acetate de citronellol, acetate de styrolyl. But again, it's not in English. So what's nice, however, is that you can always just Google it. And with the TGSC, if it's in a different language, just put TGSC, and Google always comes back, almost always, with the right answer. So that's okay. Leral, 15. Coumarin, okay. Hydroxy. I'm just going to keep filling this out until it's all done. Fleur d'oranger base. Okay. Curveball. Do they literally mean base? A base where orange flower is not the only note. It's actually got musks and top notes, and it's meant to be a perfume, a simple perfume all on its own. Or do they mean like above, bergamot substitute? Is it like a substitute? I don't know. Orange, now in my formula, okay, my ingredients, I have some orange flower bases, but base, okay, you know what? Here, this is perfect. Labtorium themselves have a Fleur d'oranger base. So we're going to do that. I haven't whipped it up yet. I believe it's free. You can go on their site. You can download it. It is free, 99. Jasmal. Another material I don't have, but I have a substitute. So that'll be fine. Musk ketone, spelled with a C. That's okay though. As long as I understand what I'm reading, we're good. Geranium, Egypt. Ooh, Castoreum resinoid. We're going to say Castoreum absolute because I don't think they want real beaver, dried beaver, you know what, in macerating in the juice. Oh, that was 50%. Let's go to the dilutions. I can change this to 50%. Wonderful. Next up, galbanum. Galbanum oil. It's different than galbanum resinoid, so get that one right. Okay, we got a few more. Fixateur 404. Can't buy this anymore. But you can buy Fixateur 505. So I could put Fixateur 404 base. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? I know if I'm actually going to make this, I'm not going to whip up Fixateur 404. I'm just going to use Fixateur 505. Lilial. 5. Cinnamon leaves. 5. Isobutylquinoline at 10%. Got to change my dilution. Guess I didn't show you. If ever there's a material here and before the actual parts per thousand or the grams, there's a percentage, I know I'm not adding a neat material to the concentrate. I'm adding isobutylquinoline at 10%, at a 10% dilution to this 100% concentrate. When I'm in Formulaire, I can click on this and I can click on dilutions and scaling. And I can just note, I want the 10% dilution. We have a few more. Ethyl vanillin. Myrtle, that's myrtle. And I have a few different myrtles. I haven't done the research to see like which is kind of the standard, if it's myrtle that contains cineol, linalool, or myrtonyl acetate. Let's just go with the linalool because why not? 3. Okay. Civet CNC. They might mean a synthetic civet. I mean, I'm just going to assume they mean a synthetic civet. So next up, armoise. I think I need to be a little more delicate with the armoise because I know that armoise supposedly smells different depending on where you get it, as far as where country it originates from, what species or, you know, what variation of the plant it is. I only have the stuff that's from Morocco or Artemisia herba alba. It's the only one I have. Okay, next up, cumin. Ooh, dangerous, but definitely a great animalic to use. Next up, Arvensis mint. I happen to know this is corn mint because of the botanical name. If I click on this, I've got it, Mentha arvensis. Okay, and that is also 1. Now we found a discrepancy. Look at this, total 1,000. This feels good, but look over here. This says my total should be 1,100. I am missing 100 of something. Am I missing a couple 50s, 40s? I don't know. I'm going to chalk this up as being an error on the part of Labtorium. Maybe there's an extra 100 in diethyl phthalate. I don't know. But I'm going to assume that Labtorium got this one wrong. Okay, so we have our third and final formula. So what do? I'm going to do 2 versions now. We're going to do one in Formulaire where we change the concentrate, and we are going to do one in Excel. We're going to build it in in Google Sheets and hope that it works. When I'm in Formulaire, I now have the reference formula. I don't want to touch this. I'm going to make a copy. I think this is really important because I have had original formulas that I have edited based on what I actually blend. And then the source of that original formula goes away. So I can't see the original reference. This happened with creative formulas as the owner has updated his tech or found new suppliers for the GCMS analysis. He has changed the formulas from version 2 to version 3, or he's upgraded these formulas, to smell closer to the original. And I had a formula for Guerlain vetiver. It was like version 2. I put it in here, whipped it up, and I really liked it. But I had made some adjustments. So when I go back to try to find the original formula, he had upgraded it to version 3. So I copied that formula over. So now I've got two Guerlain vetivers that they look meaningfully different. I'm sure I haven't whipped up version 3 yet. I'm sure they both smell great, but I was just a little bummed that I no longer have access to that original formula that I can just reference what I did compared to what the original intent was. But that's okay. So what I do in Formulaire, the moment I copy something, I put a plus at the end. This is just me. This is just me. I put a plus at the end because this tells me I've made this or I've copied this and I have another working version living elsewhere. I will copy these notes, and then I come to this little copy button. I am going to duplicate the formula. Name the duplicated formula. Usually what I will do is I will put an SS and A. For me, it means it's small with substitutes and adjustments. I used to write out small substitutes and adjustments. That got to be too much. So I just write SSA, and this tells me that first, this formula is going to be smaller than the original. There are going to be substitutes because I don't have some of this original stuff. And maybe if I'm actually putting this together, I might overweight something, I might underweight something on accident, and I will adjust the formula to show what I actually did. So I have a live, real version of the formula for what I'm actually putting in the bottle. So now we have our denim musk from Labtorium, our denim type, and we're going to start playing around. So first, cyclodota. Okay, yeah, I can't do much about that. Let's look at these other things. Base fleur d'oranger. I don't want to do a base. I'm going to change this to just the Orange Flower Absolute. I'm just going to change it. Formulaire does this neat thing where I can highlight alternatives. And I like highlighting alternatives. I want to know where I made a change in the formula. Next up, Jasmal. Jasmal from IFF is the same molecule as Jasmopyrene Forte from Givaudan. I am going to do that. Highlight as alternative. Next up, Base Fixator 44. Don't have that. I'm not going to make it. So let's just do Fixator 505. And again, this is an alternative. Lilial, everything else, Armoise, cumin, oregano, cormet. I have everything except cyclodecyl formate. I have, yeah, we're just going to assume that I'm going to have this. Okay, so denim musk. Was this an EDT? Was it an eau de parfum? I have no idea. Let's Google. Actually, let's Google. Let's look at Fragrantica first. Denim musk. Yeah. There it is. Denim musk, woody, patchouli, earthy, aromatic. Everything looks right. Nothing here. Eau de toilette. Okay, eau de toilette. Whenever I'm putting together an eau de toilette, 10% concentrate is home base for me. 10% concentrate. If I have 1,000 grams of this concentrate, how much ethanol do I need to add to make this, to make a 10% concentrate? How much ethanol would I have to add? Well, the way to do this mathematically is, what's the decimal version of 10%? It is 0.1. I want to take our total batch size for the concentrate, which is 1,000, and I want to divide it by our end concentration. So I'm going to put 1,000 divided by 0.1. And that equals 10,000. The total batch needs to be 10,000 grams or 10 kilograms. I already have 1,000 kilograms. I already have 1,000 kilograms in my batch. So that means I need to add 9,000 kilograms of Perfumer's alcohol. And that gets me close to a 10% concentrate. It's showing me a little bit less because I have 10% isobutylquinoline. That's already diluted. I have 50% castoreum absolute. That shows up in our our concentrate math. But that's the way I like to do it. Let's say I wanted this 1,000 gram formula to be a 20% concentrate. I would take 1,000, divide it by 0.2. That equals 5,000. 5,000 is my total batch size. I then subtract the actual concentrate, and I'm left with 4,000 grams of ethanol. And let's do one more, because we all love math so much. What happens if I want this to be a 12% concentrate? 1,000 divided by 0.12, that gets me 8,333 grams. That's my total batch size. That's going to give me my total batch size. Now my total batch size less the concentrate, and that leaves me with 7,333 grams. And that gets me to roughly 12% concentrate. All right, let's go back. We want a 10% concentrate. And then here is where the fun begins. With Labtorium, there's an interesting way you can substitute the solvent. You can exchange the solvent. Watch this. With corn mint, how can I represent this corn mint in the formula? There's a bunch of different ways. I can say we have 1 gram of corn mint in the formula at 100%. This is the exact same thing as saying I want 10 grams of corn mint at 10% concentrate. 10 grams of corn mint at a 10% concentrate is 1 gram of corn mint and 9 grams of perfumer's alcohol. I could say I want 100 grams of corn mint at a 1% concentrate, because 100 grams of corn mint at a 1% concentrate is 1 gram of corn mint and 99 grams of perfumer's alcohol. There's a whole bunch of different ways I can do this. What I'm going to do is I have a 10% concentrate, a 10% dilution of corn mint. So when I go into Formulaire, I put exchange solvent. I click this 10%, bing, bang, boom. Formulaire converts this from 1 gram at 100% to 10 grams at 10%. Then we have, let's do the same thing with oregano. Exchange solvent, but let's say now we're going to use a 10% dilution of oregano. Wonderful. Cumin. Cumin's a little different. I don't like using 10% concentrate. It's way too strong. I'm going to exchange solvent and do to 1%. Now check this out. It gives me 100 grams of cumin at 1%. And look, it keeps subtracting from my alcohol here. Here's one important thing. If I were to have diethyl phthalate coated in Formulaire as a solvent, every time I do this exchange solvent stuff in Formulaire, it would also deplete my diethyl phthalate. I don't want that. I want it to pull from the perfumer's alcohol, so I do not treat this as a solvent. All right, you can skip ahead. I'm going to do this for this entire thing. Or I'll just put this on fast forward. Okay, pause. Here's a good one. Castoreum Absolute is already here at a 50% concentrate. If I want to say I don't have a 50% concentrate of Castoreum Absolute, that's just what the formula called for, but I have a 10% concentrate, it doesn't matter that this isn't in a divisible by 10. This isn't an easy order of magnitude lower. This isn't 10 times lower, this is 5 times lower, but that doesn't matter. Look, I'm going 10 grams at 5%. I still do exchange solvent. I come here to 10% and it does the math for me. Takes it to 50 grams at 10%. All right, keep going. Okay, I'm getting to the last few. Now I have enough alcohol, I believe, where I can take my galaxolide and take it to 10%. I could do Vertofix at 10%, but I have a galaxolide on the side that's already at a 50%. That's kind of my go-to galaxolide. So I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this at 50%. My Vertofix, I've already got it at 100%. I'm just going to leave it. Diethyl phthalate, not going to touch. And then patchouli, do I really want to put in 2,500 grams of a diluted patchouli? Nah. I want to just put in 250 grams. Now, with this formula, you can see most of my materials are at 10%. Corn mint, oregano, armoise, myrtle, ethyl vanillin, cinnamon leaf, lilial, etc. But I have a few 1%ers. Cumin, aldehyde C11, civet, galbanum. And then I have a few 100% materials. Patchouli, Vertofix. And then look, galaxolide is a weird one. It's at 50. This is the nature of all the formulas I blend when I'm blending on screen. It's not so simple as to say, oh, everything's at 10%, therefore I'm going to have a 10% and 10% dilution in the end product. It is a mix, it's a mash, it's a little bit messy, and it's not even the right way to do it. It's only one way to do it. I could do this an infinite number of ways. I could put coumarin in here neat if I wanted to. and then just put in extra ethanol. It just, it adds ethanol here. So I like doing this. I really like doing this because this method helps keep my formulas precise, or more precise than an old method that I used to do. I used to not add the Perfumer's alcohol. I would just go through and change everything and kind of do the math manually in my head as far as change it to 10%. And then for any materials that I would have it 50 moving to 10 or 50 moving to 5, or even at 100% staying neat, I would have to manually do math for what we're about to do next. What we do next is say, I'm not about to make 10 kilograms of this at 10%. Not gonna happen. So in Formulaire, we can scale formula. And let's say, what happens if I want to make 100 grams? Formulaire does the math and it converts all of the weights down to what is required for 100 grams. Now, I know 100 grams is not going to fit in a 10 milliliter bottle. About 9.2 grams will fit in this. 9.3, 9.1, depending on what exactly I'm blending, but I get about 9.2 grams max in this. So let's take this so in short, I want to get this down to 9 or 8 grams. But what happens if I move this to 10 grams? I'm going to move the oregano down here. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Oops, let's do that. Dilutions. Let's move this. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's move this. Let's just do it to 8 grams. This is going to be our target weight. New weight, 8. Or I can do a scaling factor. If I know I want it 10 times as small, then I could say, I want it to be 10%. I want it to be 0.01 or 0.1, the scale, 0.1 scaling factor. But I know I want 0.08 because I want it to be 8% or 8 grams when it's currently 100 grams. So there's a few different ways you can scale. So now we see, and we would get to what I would blend on camera. I have 8 grams. It's at 9.69% concentrate. Technically, it's that's the technical amount, but logistically, the way we think about it, it'd still be about a 10% dilution. But this is it right here. And we can see we have a mix of 100% materials, 50%, 10%, 1%. I have the formula right here. Maybe I'll blend this. Maybe this will be an upcoming episode. If you've been with me for this long, thank you. My intention was to take the Tonkin musk formula, plug it into Google Sheets, and work up a worksheet of how we can document this and then create some kind of conversion factor so you can adjust the formula with various dilutions and whatnot. That will take me more reps. I've shot a little bit of it. I'm fumbling my words. I'm puzzle solving this like in real time. My gears turn a little slowly, and I'm not going to drag you through that. So I'm going to leave it here. If and when I figure out how to do this well on Google Sheets or Excel, I will share. Otherwise, I'd suggest, I know there are some spreadsheets floating around out there that help with formula creation, formula conversion, and even some formula tracking. So, I would recommend doing a little bit of Google. But I hope this answers some questions as it relates to formulas, what they are, how to read them, how I put them in my system, how I interpret them. Some of the common things you run into, there's misspellings, some of the resources. Feel free to drop your comments in. Any questions? I'm not going to answer any questions, but what I will do is I will bucket all of them. And if there's enough for another episode, maybe a cleaner episode, more concise, I'll do round 2 of this and I will address those. But thank you for hanging out with me. I enjoy this kind of stuff. I mean, I've spent hours doing this. I hope you enjoy it too. And as usual, I'll see you next time.